Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT post-show rewind for October the 1st, spooky 2024. I am Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, here with Little Molly Holly, and of course,
CJ Carter here as always. Let's talk some NXT.
Big night for the developmental brand making their debut on the CW network, and they pulled out all the stops and really went balls to the wall, as it would be here tonight. And we're going to break it all down and talk about it for you guys here live. But before we get into it, I do have to give that ever important shout out to our partner on the web, comicbookclick.com, comicbookclick.com/dirtsheetradio for all of your pop culture, professional wrestling, entertainment, all your needs, all in one place. Go check it out. Make it your homepage and look at it multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated, but because we love to. And while you're over there, be sure to take advantage of our sponsor, NordVPN, where if you sign up for a NordVPN for one full year, you'll get 72% off that first month. Fantastic savings. And yes, Delta is on her way to NXT. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It sounds like she's going to be making her debut at the Halloween Havoc PLE on the 27th of October. But that's at the end of the month. We're at the beginning of the month. It is the 1st of October, the long-anticipated debut of the NXT on the CW, our main event tonight. Trick Williams getting a shot at your NXT champion, Ethan Page. Well, I should say your former NXT champion, Ethan Page. Trick Williams picking up the victory and recapturing the NXT championship tonight. CJ, man, what did you think of the match itself? Were you surprised that Trick got the victory here tonight? By the way, he picked up that win in just about 12 and a half minutes. That finish seemed to come out of nowhere, if you ask me, and it's probably because there's no more overrun on the CW. Yeah. But CJ, brother, what'd you think?
No, I agree. I was very taken aback by how out of nowhere the pin felt. It wasn't surprising to see Trick Williams win, though. I think that with Ethan Page and the way his career is going, I think he is main roster bound. But I think Trick Williams is also very much representative of the CW brand, more so than Ethan Page. So starting off on the CW, Trick Williams is, I think, the best choice for champion.
Yeah. Now I almost wonder if they did the title change in part just so they could have him win it back on the CW debut.
And that very well possibly could be. So if that is the case, what do we anticipate for next week in St. Louis? Because nothing has been billed as far as who has next or even anything really teased. So what are we thinking?
It's hard to say. There's, a myriad of directions they could really go into. They haven't seemed to have leaned on the rematch clause in title matches as of late, so I don't know necessarily they would go back there immediately. I'm sure that they'll have Ethan Page make some sort of argument or play for that, but gosh, I I'm trying to think of who I would position there next. Obviously, it's not going to be someone like Obafemi, as he's still on a tear with the North American Championship. But
we'll see what happens as of next week. If Tony D'Angelo manages to get the victory, he could. He could be the former NXT North American champion.
That's true. That is a fair point. And it's always hard to say with NXT. Things can change on a dime, in this brand, and it happens. I said this going into our little I like to say pre-production meeting. It's really just us talking, guys. That's what it is. But had Trick not won, it would have been heels night all night. And I actually thought Ethan Page was going to retain going into tonight's program until the other three matches occurred and heels won all of them. I'm like, well, hell, they can't have a full run of heels tonight.
And I hadn't even connected the dots until you mentioned that. Like, it was just, oh, okay, well, that happened. Oh, okay, that also happened. When and we'll talk about this later, but there was a segment where Lexis King approached Punk backstage. I thought that was going to wind up leading to something. But nope, no sign of Lexis King outside of that segment tonight.
No, but hey, he got to share some, screen time with the, uber special guest star of NXT tonight, which was CM Punk. So, it is worth, noting that he was, sharing time with him. So, that's not bad for him. But yeah, I thought maybe he was going to kind of be in that slot where he takes a GTS, because they'll do that, when they have, returning stars on Raw and such. They usually have somebody, get just their shit knocked in by them. Once upon a time when the Rock made a surprise appearance on SmackDown, I think it was oh gosh, who did he? I got it. So much happens in wrestling. Now I'm trying to remember who it was. But my point is, they who did they throw at him? It was Austin. Not Stone Cold, obviously, but one half of A-Town on that one. Right? Am I remembering that right? It was a long time ago.
When, earlier this year, right?
I think it would have been
last year. Yeah.
Get Baron Corbin back. There's always somebody take that. I kind of thought that's where Lexus was going to be tonight, but that would be swell. Some Mercy Machine Gun action, but no, the GTS eaten by Ethan Page as the credits rolled tonight. Confetti flying through the air, and then GTS. The ending of the show felt pretty rushed. I will say that.
Well, and like you said, no overrun on the CW, so it's very possible that they're like, "Oh shit, we got to go here.
Go home." Like,
yeah.
And we've been very spoiled by the overrun that USA allowed NXT to have, and also I know you never got the split screen during the commercial breaks, but that's gone.
No, and thank you for the reminder.
Well, I don't have it anymore either, so I mean,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. I love the most Canadian thing. First anger for me breaking out something, and then just immediate apology. Goddamn.
Well, because it shouldn't have been lose-lose. It should have been win-win. All I was asking for was the same thing you had, not mutually assured destruction.
Right. But solid main event. Anything else on tonight's main before we hop around to the start of the show?
I don't think I have anything.
All right. Well, NXT came to us live tonight on the road from, they can call it Chicago all they want. Look, I've spent a lot of time in Rosemont, Illinois, where the venue. But Chicago, Rosemont, it's like this far apart, But they were at the Allstate Arena tonight. I don't have a ticket count on there. I did not find that heading into the show this evening. But
I'm sure they would have announced if it was a sellout.
Right, and they didn't, which makes me assume it wasn't. But it looked like a pretty solid crowd, though. If nothing else, they kept their angles good. But yeah, it looked like a pretty packed audience in there. That was my first impression as they went into the venue live. And we were greeted tonight immediately by the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, coming out to greet the crowd and open the show. I love that I can still call him the Heartbreak Kid at his age. It's God, I love wrestling for that reason. It's people.
Seeing him coming out and still singing along to his own music and doing hand finger guns, and I'm like, dude, you are. I don't know if you're moving that way because you're crippled or just because you're trying to think you have groove.
Those knees have been through a lot. All right, the knees have been through a lot, and also I've heard on pretty good authority that's legitimately how Sean dances at any like sort of social function. That's just him.
I believe very I can't remember the episode, but it definitely got some kind of circulation as a GIF. Matt Smith's Doctor Who dancing with a bunch of kids, and it's just him with his arms up, waving them in the air.
Yeah. He's only got like 3 moves. Like, it's and a couple of Sean's old moves he won't do anymore. In his age and more conservative faith, there's certain gyrations that he's not comfortable performing on live television at this point. But always great to see the Heartbreak Kid out there. He showed off the brand new men and women's NXT World Championship titles. Nice redesigns on those. Like, I wasn't expecting new title belts tonight. I don't know that anyone was. Was there any sort of indication they were going to be doing I don't want to say a rebrand of the title belts, but
well, I kind of figured there would be. I think they'd been looking for a reason to ditch the highlighter titles, and with a rebrand, hey, that's a good opportunity. I am surprised that they went with that particular design. There was a comment that I saw from Mac earlier that it looks like the UFC BMF belt. I was looking at those belts and I was like, that looks familiar, and I'm trying to figure out why. I thought it was originally like the spherical, so I was like, is that the Speed Championship, but then with just less color? No, it's entirely different. The only other round one I could think of was the 24/7 title,
right.
And it's obviously not that bad, but it'll have to grow on me, I think.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, it was sudden. I felt, but bam, there they are. And before Sean Foley could begin the show, he had to ask the question of, are you ready? And out comes Triple H to pose the question, and out came Julia to kick off the first match. I was a little surprised that this was the opening bout, but we had Julia and Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship opening the show. Fantastic match, I thought, with a surprising finish. Roxanne Perez ends up retaining the championship in about 12 minutes and 58 seconds after a surprise attack by the returning Cora Jade, who, and I don't say this to sound disrespectful, but I'm pretty sure she had her top floor remodeled a second time while she was out on injury again. So lots of surprises tonight from Cora. But yeah, so Roxy retains, Julia loses. I was surprised by this, but I'm not angry. I'm not angry about this because this means that surely, soon, in the near future, we will be getting Julia and Roxy in 2. And I am all here for that. But CJ, brother, what'd you think of tonight's opening bout, the return of Cora Jade, Julia's PLE debut? How you feeling about this?
I'll get to that in a sec. I just gotta call you out, man. It doesn't need the comment. Let's be professional here. Let's not innuendo. It's good to see Cora Jade back because of her in-ring talent.
Yeah, see, and my improv brain just overtook me there, and I just want to say, don't you mean to say it's good to see Cora Jade front?
So the match was awesome. I thought they worked really well together. There's a lot of like great fluid like chain wrestling between the two of them, but for the most part, like, it didn't feel like it was over rehearsed. It still felt like very natural. I think Julia brings a lot of talent to the NXT women's roster, and I think Roxanne Perez is, I mean, feel free to disagree, but I feel like they are getting ready to bring her up to the main roster as early as the Rumble.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great spot for her to come up through. She's made appearances in the Rumble 2 years in a row, and that'd be a great way to bring her fully up to the main roster. Yeah, her time is definitely limited down there. I feel there's a couple loose ends and programs that they want to get done while they still have her at NXT. Obviously, they're I think now going to slot back into whatever program story they were planning to have with her and Cora Jade before Cora went down with that. It was ACL tear. Or both times it was ACL tear. Before she went down with injury. So I feel like they're going to run that. I mean, they've obviously, I think they want her to work with Stephanie Vacker before heading to the main roster. She's got a couple more things to do, but definitely got the time to do it. I don't know how many people felt that Julia was going to walk out winning tonight. I certainly thought it was, I'm going to say 70-30 probably in her favor. And if they were going to have Roxy win, I really didn't know how they were going to go about doing it. And this was a really good way to go about doing it. It absolutely protects Julia. It gives Julia a match to immediately fall into with Cora Jade. And just, we say this pretty much every week on the Rewind, but the NXT women's roster is just, I think, the best in the world. They Shawn Michaels does a lot of things right, and who the hell knew that women's wrestling was going to be one of the things that he was going to just absolutely excel at booking and finding talent for?
Oh, 100%. And I mean, if the problem that if it is a problem, but I know in NXT's when it was Triple H's booking versus WWE when it was Vince's booking, those mentalities that Triple H was trying to pass over weren't making it past Vince. It was always his way. So I think a lot of these more positive attributes that Shawn is instilling in NXT, if they make it up to the main roster, that might influence Triple H's booking style, and that's how the business grows and evolves. And it's awesome to see that it's actually happening because they're listening to the people and they're listening to the wrestlers, not it's happening because Vince approved it.
Right.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention with this is the problem with bringing in new talent and putting them right into the main event scene.
Mm-hmm.
This new superstar who has all the talent in the world losing to the NXT champion. I get that there's outside interference that led to the decision, but it still reads that she got pinned. And
Right.
then if Stephanie Vaquer comes into the company, now that she has come into the company, she's already claimed she's got next. So it becomes a how does Julia rebound? Well, okay, yeah, like you said, the match with Cora Jade. But when does Cora Jade rebound now? Like, there's still varying ripple effects that make this a tangled web that couldn't have been, or had the opportunity to not be tangled in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd have put her in a mid-card feud, that's like pushing into main event territory, then I think that would have been a better introduction, one or two of those before you put her up against the champion, where she can still lose credibly.
Right. Yeah, I'm not really super clear on all of the directions that they're going to go from here, but they're going to have to augment. Like I said, I think they had some sort of plan with Cora and Roxy before Cora got hurt, But when that happened, they didn't have Julia. They probably had plans for Julia coming in there, but they certainly, I don't think had plans for Stephanie Vacker yet to be coming in. So there's, changes in the road. But I have faith that whatever they do, it'll be good, and I'm going to enjoy it. But right now I have no idea, and that's okay. I like not knowing sometimes. It's fine.
I've gotten swerved a few times this month, like in the last few weeks already. So I'm on board for it. I love it when it happens most of the time. I think there was one tonight that kind of threw me a bit, but we'll see how that goes.
And I will say, before we move on to the next segment of the episode, I think I don't know, maybe it should be something, but the most tone-deaf thing I read on Twitter, and that's saying a lot because it's Twitter. I saw someone, and I don't say this often of fans, but like, goddamn, Google is there. Like, do just like 3 minutes of research. But they just said, oh, Julia is Asuka from Temu.
That's...
Right?
No.
Tone deaf tweet of the night, ladies and gentlemen.
That's more than tone deaf.
Yeah, it's also racist.
Yeah, 100% that is.
Like, my only regret, because I made note of that tweet when I saw it, my only regret was I didn't take down the person's handle when I took note of that, because they probably should be drugged a little bit for that. But yeah, tone deaf, racist, awful tweet. So, and that's saying something, because again, it's Twitter. Just a horrendous blender of just, poo, y'all, poo.
I've been teasing with getting more involved on Threads as opposed to Twitter. I don't know if that's a valuable enough jump, or if I should just stay there.
I'm not saying that this would not become like the most toxic thing after like 3 weeks, but professional wrestling needs its own social media thing. Like,
I don't want to sound like a I don't want to be a dick, but I found I was accidentally posting to Threads for a while, and I didn't know. And then one day I opened the app, and it was like, it would get a decent amount of traction. So I was like, oh, let me check this app out, maybe. And I feel that their newsfeed fucking sucks. It is full of the lowest level engagement bait people. I don't know what it is about Threads specifically, but they have a technique where they ask a stupid question so that everyone can pile on them for being stupid, and everyone does it, and it creates the worst scrolling experience ever. The engagement is just not worth it for me.
Damn,
Oh, that's fair.
So Threads is unraveling.
All right, you have to go now, Tyler, forever. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it was nice knowing you. No, don't come back, please. I don't know if you watched last week's show. Never let me do it solo again, because I fucking hate it.
It was fine. Like, come on, we do fine when we have to do these solo shows from time to time. It was great.
That was like just me being an anxious ball of nerves on camera for 50 whatever minutes.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I feel a certain way when I'm sitting here alone too. It's it gets scary under the lights, guys. You never know until you're up here. This is why deer get hit by cars. Right?
Yeah, that is a pretty accurate simile.
Yeah, it's back to NXT though. They quickly showed a earlier today segment with Trick and Ethan Page arriving separately. Of course, obviously they were not arriving together. That would be weird. And then we went to Axiom and Nathan Fraser, or Fraxium as they are now known, playing some WWE 2K25 as themselves against A-Town down under. So like this is clearly leaning in that direction. But hey, got him on TV for the debut on CW. Again, similar to the Lexis King segment, this kind of felt like, hey, we got to, at least get their faces, or mask as it would be for Axiom, on television. And it also, this is kind of a weird place for me to mention this, but no Chase U at all tonight.
I think they were advertised for night 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there was. There was mention. There were in the intro video that they showed tonight, and I swear, like, SmackDown started doing it, and it was awesome. Like, they did it for the first episode, and then never did it again. I really hope NXT does weekly video packages as a lead into NXT. I love that shit.
Yeah, and that's actually we didn't talk about that, but yeah, obviously NXT, they've got a new opening video package. They've got a new theme song. The redesigned
Lil
logo.
Jon.
Yeah, like
Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne. I'm sorry.
there's
I'm not
lots of
racist.
No, that's a. You're not racist. You just don't listen to hip hop.
Very true. I knew enough, or remembered enough when they advertised the song, that I was like, Lil something. And then I took a shot in the dark, and turns out I was wrong.
Oh, he's very Lil indeed.
Very glad to be rid of the yellow background forever. So thank you, WWE.
Just a high. It's a highlight color now, an accent color.
Yes, it is. This is a lot less visually jarring. The yellow did get a little rough on the eyes after a while.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the aforementioned segment with CM Punk and Lexis King. Punk was in there talking to Ava. They were, discussing his officiating for the main event, talking about calling it straight down the middle. And King stormed in, and they had an exchange here. We talked about it a little bit earlier too, but CG, anything else on this segment that you wanted to bring up?
Well, just the interaction with Punk and Lexis King. Like, it does feel like Lexis King is coming from a place of real humility lately. I'm sure he's going to wind up pulling the wool over everyone's eyes and being like, nope, it's all about me, always has been all along. But I wanted to ask, do you think, especially in parallel with Braun Breaker's recent face turn, do you think Lexis King's is legit or not?
Well, my knee-jerk reaction is to say it's a farce, he's a heel, the snake's always going to bite you kind of thing. However, this is NXT, it is developmental. And I don't think that I would be alone in saying that Lexis King has certainly had a bumpy road since entering NXT with this heel character. Maybe they want to try to give him a shot and see what he can do as a face. See if that works better for him. So looking at it that way, it's feasible. This could be a new leaf for him, but I'm not 100% sold on that.
We'll have to see what his next match is, because if they continue this trend of Lexis King rejects the opportunity to cheat and loses for it, he may just turn around and be like, well, I'm just going to start cheating because then I'll start winning again and then still be a bad guy and have learned nothing.
CM Punk actually dropped a "there are two wolves in you" line during this segment.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Like, cool, it's 2011 apparently in CM Punk's head. There are two wolves inside of you. One is a Taco Bell. One is a Pizza Hut. You are a combination Taco Bell Pizza Hut.
My town had a Taco Bell KFC until a few years ago.
God bless Canada, man. That's fantastic. Jesus. So from the backstage segment, we got a video recap of the Wes Lee Zachary Wentz feud. Great recap video here. They always do a good job of this, but if you hadn't really seen much of that feud, if by chance tonight was the first time you ever tuned into NXT, I think you had a good feel and a good idea of the feuds, the stories, and what most of the wrestlers were about. So kudos to the NXT/WWE production team for all the work they do on the video packages and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
But so from the video package to the backstage area, we had in the locker room area, Lola Vice and Jada Parker continuing to argue and quarrel as they attempted to get on the same page ahead of their tag match against Fatal Influence later tonight. Kalani Jordan tried to play peacemaker between them. Didn't really go so well, but she mentioned here that she had a backup plan for tonight. We'd see what that was later tonight. But it's going to take us into our next match on the card. A street fight between Wes Lee and TNA's Zachary Wentz, former X Division champion, Zachary Wentz. But fantastic match. Again, this the positioning of the street fight on the card here. This I felt a little bit like them trying to kind of give a sampler platter to potential first-time viewers of NXT tonight. Different stylings of matches, different things, a little bit for everybody here. But fantastic match. 13 and a half minutes roughly. Wes Lee getting his win back here tonight. Chains on the knees, the double knees. That spot where Wentz basically missed the table from the wild match. CJ, what'd you think tonight?
Just so I thought we had seen the apex of destruction with the last Monster Standing match last night. That match took absolutely zero away from the mayhem that took place tonight. That spot that you were talking about where Zachary Wentz flew over the table, the double chain punch, I genuinely I did not catch Zach grabbing the rope or grabbing the chain as Wes Lee was wrapping his end around his fist. They both punch each other with a chained up fist. Fantastic. And then of course the chained up knees for the Meteora. Absolutely amazing match. I did have to note though, you caught Booker T calling Wes Lee Trey Miguel by accident.
Oh no, dog!
And it's not even like he messed up the TNA guy for the other TNA guy. He messed up the WWE guy.
Trey wasn't even there.
No. At least it was relevant to the Rascals and MSK, right. But right. I just had to laugh and had to throw that out there.
Yeah, and on you mentioning the kind of this happening on the back of the last Monster Standing match last night, just very, very different pacing. Obviously two much quicker wrestlers involved here. But yeah, I feel like having watched both matches, they were pretty different, and kudos to them on that too for having similar match stipulations, but making them different enough. And this was just a pedal to the metal ride from start to finish here. When I checked the time, I couldn't believe it was actually 13 and a half minutes. It felt like it was so much shorter than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's but time flies when you're having fun.
What stipulation do we get for the blow off on that? Yeah, I guess we would have to hit a rubber match on that here. We are at the one-on-one.
But it's got to be something bigger than a than a street fight. Is a cage match big enough? Or does it even need to be bigger than that? They won't get away with Hell in a Cell.
No. Would a Falls Count Anywhere be bigger than that? Texas Death Match?
Oh, I don't think they'd get away with a Texas
quit.
Death Match. Huh. And I
quit. You know, it was interesting on commentary going into this. He said, it would end with, pinfall or someone giving up. And I'm like, did you mean submission? Because you said, like, them saying they quit. And I get that is a way to submit in a match, but, like, that kind of, now saying I quit match, that maybe they accidentally, tipped the hat there.
But because it's interpromotional, they might want to leave it even. Rather, that might have been the blow off. You may not see it again.
Oh, that could be true. But we'll see what happens. We can fantasy book all we want. And you know what? On CJ and Tyler's Weekend Wrestling Roundup, maybe we will.
Possibly. Working on the rebrand, guys. We've been back off for a couple weeks, but hopefully we'll be back this weekend with a lot of fun discussions. And that is Roundup with a W. Every time we do it.
Yes.
But great match. If it is the blow off and we're gonna just not really see him cross paths for a while, fine. But like, if there's more to come, I welcome that as well. So no complaints, guys. But all right,
they stopped doing the either they didn't or they stopped doing the TNA lower third. Wesley's Zachary Wentz's was NXT.
I would wonder if that has anything to do with the network change, because you would think that the agreements to use the TNA logos and the championships and things like that, it would be an agreement with WWE, but would USA have had any dealings with that? Because I mean, USA had the rights to NXT, Access TV has the television rights to TNA. You would think they would have had some sort of agreement there. Maybe the CW and Access doesn't have that same agreement. And that's a speculation on my part. I obviously don't know.
I can't imagine that the TNA deal would be continuing. Like, that feels like a pretty big thing that they weren't able to address.
Right.
I think that because that would have been a consistent weekly thing. Obviously Trey Miguel Zachary Wentz, and see, like, it made sense to do it because he was the TNA guy. That's what I'm saying. But with Zachary Wentz just dropping the TNA X Division Championship to Mike Bailey, they don't have to worry about that. But what happens when Jordan Grace wants to defend her title on NXT television again? Like, that would put a massive hamper on their deal.
Right. Yeah, it would. It's, we'll see. I've said multiple times that I hope the partnership with TNA never ends. So it's, my stance on it.
NXTNA for life, buddy.
They did right after that. They showed some CW executives in the front row, acting like they watch wrestling. Maybe they do. I don't know.
One guy that was chanting NXT and just like prolonged T, and I'm like, dude, they've been chanting NXT all night. You haven't picked up on that? We are considerably into the show.
They tried. You gotta, A for enthusiasm, right? Like that's,
right. It really, what does that do for anybody? Like, they show the executives on TV in the front row instead of, like the family of four that's like still trying to get tickets and couldn't get the last ones because, oops, we had to bump people for CW executives. Who fucking cares? Like, I don't give a shit who these people are.
They did that on Raw a few weeks ago. They had a bunch of like Netflix executives in the front row. So it's a thing.
Oh, I remember that.
It's a dumb thing, but it's a thing nonetheless. But from the network executives from the CW, we went to The Miz, coming out for the Miz TV segment, coming out to a lot of boos, based off of what he did last night. It makes sense.
Well, and they never even really addressed it. They're just like, all right, well, that's okay. I'm going to acknowledge the fact that you're booing and then continue on with the segment. So, like, it makes sense that we didn't get a proper response to him attacking R-Truth because NXT isn't particularly canon. But Miz played his role very well, and even like it, I don't know if he was ad-libbing at the end or if that part for him to kind of narrate the stare down was scripted or not. But he does a phenomenal job playing host.
Well, and you talk about the evolution of the Miz as a performer in WWE. And, where he's kind of found his niches over the years. And that's definitely one of them. And he'll have a job for life for that reason.
100%. He's able to, he's tenured, essentially. Like, unless he does something to massively fuck up, then, he'll have a job however he wants it.
Like,
same thing with the
he would basically have to, like, punch a nun or something. Like, it would have to be pretty bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless he started an OnlyFans. I hear that's also still against policy.
Oh, man. No, he shouldn't do that. For a bunch of reasons, really. That would not be awesome. No. That wouldn't. But the same with the Miz TV segment itself. He first brings out the ruler Obafemi and then Tony D with the family. Great segment here. We've discussed at length how quickly Obafemi is coming along, not just in ring, but on the mic and as a character. And this was one of his best promos, I felt, to date. Just the timing, his presence, and just everything came across so genuine and natural. The only thing that I kind of went on was him saying that he is inevitable, but that's just because it's like, it's you guys pulled that from Marvel, but
I definitely thought Tony was going to be like, and I am Tony D'Angelo.
I'm glad they didn't. That would have been a step too far on it. But and Tony,
I would have cringed so hard, but I also would have laughed my ass off.
Yeah, I winced enough at the "I am inevitable," but that line aside, really, really good. I do have to. I have to shit on the crowd a little bit here, though, because the what chants need to stop. I don't care what you think the reason is to do it. I don't care if you're genuinely bored as hell somewhere. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. It's dumb. It's low IQ. It's disrespectful. And for what fucking reason? Tony wasn't faltering on the mic. He wasn't doing a bad job while speaking. He was doing a damn good job cutting that promo. So what reason was there to do it? It wasn't that you didn't hear him. It wasn't that you couldn't understand him. And you could see there was a point of frustration he had on it. He glanced at the Miz and the Miz made a face at him. And then it seemed to kind of stop. But just stop it. If you're going to a live show and you want to do a what chant, don't go to a live show. I don't like 100%. Gatekeeping, but you're not welcome.
No, I perfectly agree. And it's something that feels like it's just the opportunity to fill the silence. And it's something that I think when we talk about international crowds and the respect that they give the performers, like Backlash France is still like, I still get the phenomenal chants stuck in my head from time
Right.
to time because that passion was so insane. Like, that's how memorable these moments are because of these crowds. And then you compare them to the dog shit what chants that we get in the US, and it's like, you have to be better. Like, these are just Max said it, the only bad thing that Stone Cold gave us.
Yeah.
And it really
I would like a formal apology from him at this point. I feel the fans are owed that. I said this once before, but he's apologized ad nauseum for walking out on Raw that night when they wanted him to job to Brock Lesnar with absolutely no advertisement or forethought going into it in a King of the Ring qualifying match. He's apologized for walking out on that night, and he shouldn't apologize for that. He was right to do that. Vince was making a dumb decision that night. It would have hurt his character, and he was right. But this is what you actually need to say you're sorry for, Steve. Come on, man. Make it right. Maybe if Steve Austin told fans to quit doing it, they actually would.
Well, I doubt that, too, because wrestling fans will just do whatever they want anyways, so...
Yeah, it needs to stop. So I saw Max a second ago that he just does not care about Tony D. CJ, do you get the impression that Max not alone in that? Because I will say, Tony's response in the Performance Center is pretty solid most of the time. It did feel a little weaker on the road here tonight. And he's even from Chicago, and he made a point of mentioning that.
Well, and I did figure this was going to happen when you take the NXT product and bring it outside its bubble. You're going to get a different reaction than you're expecting because you have cultivated that NXT home crowd to react the way you want them to. Like, even those particular fans that are sitting like opposite camera that are standing and dancing and cheering during matches, like, they're engaging, they're getting into it, and that's awesome. But I think it gives the perception that talent are getting over before they are,
right,
in a way, or in a way that is more real.
Right.
So I think this was just an example of, okay, maybe you're not as over as you think. And I think it hurt him as well, coming against Obafemi. Like, this is a kid that has been on fire ever since his debut. So how do you compare to that, especially when you've already lost to the man? Like, he doesn't have as good momentum as he does, or thinks he does.
Well, and I do agree with that. It being Obafemi is something that's going to be working against Tony D. Like, anybody, in a program with Obafemi is going to get the weaker response of the two. But yeah, this was tonight was a pretty good indication, I think, and a bigger show and tell of who's really over. And well, I'm not going to say Tony D's not got popularity, but I will say I don't believe that Mac is alone in his feelings there. I like Tony D, obviously a lot more than Mac does, but
I like him.
I think that maybe we sometimes maybe we're a little too close to it, but I don't know. I do think though that his response was a little bit more muted tonight.
Hey, fuck you, Mac. There's always room for mafia characters in professional wrestling.
And in pop culture in general. Like, because The Sopranos is done, okay, let's move on to another mob boss Hallmark character.
He's the Penguin now.
There you go.
There you go.
Not the Burgess Meredith penguin, obviously. Yeah, looking forward to the match. But I partially am looking forward to the match because I just want to kind of see what they do for both of them going forward as they move out of this program and into other things. So from there, the unseen interviewer that may or may not be holding the camera as they run around caught up with Cora Jade, and she was quickly approached by Roxanne Perez. You know, every once in a while, I am reminded that Roxy is like 5 foot tall, and this is one of those shots. But, you know, they almost look like sisters here. So maybe they'll get along for a little while. And, you know, Roxy did say that maybe a common enemy can bring them together again.
I didn't realize they had the same color hair.
Yeah.
That one
feel
took
like
me a second too.
it's probably like the same exact box of dye too.
Yeah.
I figure they did it together in the mirror or something.
They did, because it's got a slight upgrade to it, you know. It's nice. It's good. It's a good dye job.
Not the way I thought they'd reintroduce Cora, but I'm also not against it. I do think it's going to be short-lived, though. I think the NXT Championship is eventually going to be in the way, and it's going to come down to Cora defending against or Cora trying to take the title from Roxanne.
Which, again, like I said, is one of the kind of, I think, few programs that they still have to get Roxy through before getting up to the main roster. Look forward to it. It's going to be great. I really do. And again, like you said earlier, it's nice to see Cora back. She's been ready for a minute, right? Like, I feel like they kind of waited for this moment.
What did we... Because I'm trying to keep track in my head of the injuries and like who was close to coming back. Yeah, she's been close to coming back for what feels like maybe a month now.
I even thought, like, if I remember, I thought she like teased making an appearance at Heatwave, and that was a while ago.
Yeah, I think that was early August, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think, but hey, they bided their time and they do well. I was surprised to see her tonight. So credit where credit is due, HBK. But next up, the last match we'll be discussing here this evening on the program, tag team action. Jada Parker and Lola Vice taking on Fatal Influence. Ended up being Fallon Henley and JC Jane. Part of the story here would be would Jada and Lola, would they be able to get along and stay on the same page? And the answer was no, they could not. After a couple of little miscommunications there, Jada just kind of threw her hands up and walked away. The numbers game caught up very, very quickly to Lola Vice, and Fatal Influence picks up the win in just under 11 minutes. They start John and running down Kalani Jordan, saying that they're coming for the Women's North American Championship. And Kalani said that's fine, they can come for her. But she got back up, and out comes the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And they cleared house pretty quickly. It was just like 5 seconds. It felt like bam, 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 done. But CJ, what'd you think of the tag match here tonight? Getting the tag champs popping on to NXT. Another surprise here this evening. They had a few of them tonight. What'd you think about this one?
Well, and they did make an announcement that we can talk about afterwards as well. But the match itself, I thought was great. I thought Jada and Lola were an odd couple tag team that worked together very well. Like levels of, I would say, the bar would be a comparison to I think the success that Jada and Lola could reach. I think this was a really dumb excuse for a miscommunication. Specifically, Jada was almost at the corner for the tag. Lola should have just waited. She could have just reached a little further, but no, she had to go out and try to attack because someone was trying to block the tag. But also, she clearly wasn't aiming for Jada Parker either.
Right.
So what the hell? This is stupid. And then
they could have at least had those spots booked in a little more of a believable way. Because you're right, like I'm very hard pressed to believe that Jada Parker would legitimately think that Lola did that on purpose.
Well, and even like I understand that there's a match going on and Lola was hoping to make a tag, but you should still be able to see that you have Jasmine Nix on the other side purposely distracting your partner, but also, Jada, stop getting distracted, girl. Focus on the match.
Task at hand, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed too with their aesthetics, Jada Parker is San Andreas and Lola is Vice City.
Right.
And it's like when you put them beside each other, like I got the comparisons individually, but then I just never connected them together like that.
Right. Yeah. Good juxtaposition there. And Ken kind of mentioned this earlier in who was making appearances and who wasn't, and obviously it's the CW network, they're here permanent or not permanently, but at least for this contractual time. But the fact that the debut episode had Lola Vice and Jada Parker, and obviously Fatal Influence is there, but I think the focal was really more them. That says a lot for them that they wanted their faces, and their personas associated with the debut episode. If this goes well, if they're on the CW for a decade, that'll be something talked about. That they were on the debut episode, so it's always worth mentioning who they decided to book on something like this.
Oh, definitely, and I think that's part of why they booked this match and the 6-woman tag that they've booked for St. Louis next week as well. They had the opportunity to bring Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill down, which was this just them capitalizing on the opportunity to get Jade Cargill to NXT? Because it feels like bringing her to the main roster now in retrospect feels like a missed opportunity. They could have brought her down to NXT, given her time to develop a little bit better, live up to that potential that WWE was touting when they were bringing her in. But that didn't happen, and then we've talked about how it doesn't feel like she's been able to capitalize on that momentum. And even though she's a women's tag team champion 2 times.
Yeah, it probably would have done her good to have a stint at NXT, especially considering just how stellar the women's division is in NXT. There would have been just a lot of great talent for her to work with. They could have booked her differently and much more slowly, but they were just bound and determined to, just book her like a massive incoming star. I'm not saying she's not, but I don't think that she has delivered on the investment they've made yet.
And maybe this is that opportunity to give her that education.
Yeah, and two, getting them on the show next week, I don't know how the ticket sales are going for the St. Louis show, but I do know that they weren't going well, and that was one of the reasons they moved venues. So that could
they have to move venues again. Like, that would just be insane.
Oh, no.
I'm saying if they did have to move again, like, that would just be probably the last time they ever go to St. Louis for NXT.
Because they already went from having Randy Orton just making an appearance to having Randy Orton actually wrestling, which actually that's a pretty clean segue to the video vignette promoting the Javon Evans and Randy Orton match that is to take place next week. And I think a large part of the reason why they put him on the card was to help buoy the ticket sales there. And they did a good job, though, of rationalizing why Randy Orton was wanting to have a match with Javon Evans. He talked in the video about, when he was a young, incoming wrestler, he was given all of these opportunities, and those opportunities are part of the reason why, he made it to where he did. And he also wants to RKO him in a breathtaking way. So Randy's got to play.
That in particular was like, okay, this is just another example of Randy having as much fun in the back end of his career. The thought that came to my mind was Randy pounce, because Javon Evans will bounce. So pounce versus bounce.
Yeah, all right. I like that. Although when I hear pounce, I always think of
Keith Lee.
No, not
Monty
Keith Lee.
Brown.
Monty Brown.
Oh yeah,
The pounce.
Monty Brown.
With his Bob the Builder shoes. Still one of my favorite things Christian has ever said to a wrestler. Also, didn't he hit him with the what's the capital of Thailand line? I think Christian hit him with that too.
Wow. Well, I mean, Spike TV was a whole other thing.
Yeah, I said of TNA during some of that era that there were some episodes that felt like it was just written in the dingiest corner of the worst porn shop in the planet. Like it felt a little ooey sometimes.
Some people deserve to have an outlet because when you suppress it, the pendulum will swing. Nobody thinks about this when they plug a hole of male.
Okay, no, you're saying pendulum will swing, plugging holes. No, this is
I'm very high. But listen, swinging balls. It all comes back to swinging balls. It really does.
Mahoney?
Rest in peace.
Yep.
R.I.P. Mahoney. Oh, jeezy. But yeah, really looking forward to that match next week. I'm sure there will be a spectacular RKO. But hey.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure that brings us up to the main event, which we, of course, discussed at the top of the show. CJ, man, before we hop into the jobbers and megastars of the night, was there anything on the debut on the CW network that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about or discuss?
If I think of anything, I will mention it this Sunday with CJ and Tyler's weekend wrestling roundup debuting, fingers crossed, this Sunday. Other than that, just got to take care of some business. We've got Monk Organic handheld essential oil diffusers. If you use promo code DSR10 on your order, you save 10%. That's monk.com. Delphin Pod shows are available everywhere podcasts are found, so check those out. And the Major Issues show every single Thursday. Cold Case Project on YouTube. Both of those shows on YouTube. And of course, check out Shop DSR Shopify store. And comicbookclick.com/dirtsheetradio for all your wrestling and pop culture needs.
It's all there. All so convenient. Easy to find. Always there. But, hey, that is going to take us in to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT Jobbers of the Night for October the 1st, 2024. This was kind of a rough pick for me because I didn't really think anyone did that badly, but I'll say this: I get the role he was there to play, and I keep calling him even the jobber of the night, but I did feel that the Miz was a little bit superfluous in that interview segment. he, like you said, CJ, he was just kind of there providing commentary more than anything else. And they probably could have found someone else that was more, NXT affiliated to preside over that. But I understand he's a main roster talent. You're bringing him in. But so I really don't have a full-fledged jobber. But like Miz just kind of felt like he was just there tonight. But that's the closest I got, man. Who you feeling on this one?
I ran into that problem as well. Like, they're just, the people that lost weren't weren't jobber worthy. So I went with the video game characters of Axiom and Nathan Fraser. I realized that they were not in control of themselves, but at the same time, they lost a match that wasn't so easy to lose. Or that shouldn't have been that hard to win. So they are my jobbers of the night.
That is fair. The digital representations of Fraxium. Oh man. Actually, I'll hop back. The person with the incredibly awful, tone deaf, possibly racist, not possibly, very racist tweet, they can be the jobber of the night.
There we go.
But that will take us into the megastars of the night tonight. And this one also a little bit of a hard decision because I just feel like everyone did such a great job tonight, played their roles very, very well. However, I'm going to give it to Trick Williams this evening because we, earlier talked about, how tonight was a little bit more of an indication as to who on that roster is over, who's really over, who's destined for megastardom. And Trick Williams, man, he's as over as we thought he was anywhere else. And I know Chicago is a wrestling crowd, but you could tell who they were into and who they weren't. And Trick got that pop. Trick got, I'd say maybe the loudest response tonight, but Trick Williams is a megastar. And CJ, did you feel like they had Booker T tone his shit down a little bit with Trick tonight?
Not particularly, unfortunately.
Okay, so I was alone at that. Maybe I wasn't paying as close of attention during the entrance, but I felt like he wasn't quite as on his "oh yeah, dog" bullshit as he usually is.
Basically when he's only really loud when he's doing when the crowd is doing the "whoop that trick" chant. So those points in the song that's not happening, Vic Joseph's got that amount of time to get his business out before Booker T starts going, "Oh yeah, man," and yeah,
I like it.
But oh god, I hate it so much.
But who's your megastar?
My megastar tonight, I think I gotta give it to Wes Lee. That match was fantastic. Like, Zachary Wentz is an incredible opponent for Wes Lee. Like, they both knocked it out of the park. But Wes Lee as a heel, especially coming after some career-threatening surgery where we weren't sure, he wasn't sure if we'd ever see Wes Lee in a ring again. So, one, good on him for making this heel thing work, but two, props to a phenomenal match with an excellent opponent that you can work with so well. Megastar of the night, absolutely, Wes Lee.
Yeah, and we don't know what's this, but I will ask before we, kind of get into our closing bits here. What was, in your mind, the match of the night this evening?
I think I got to give that to the street fight as well.
Yeah,
it was such an entertaining match. It was the gem among. Hang on, because it's not like this was a bad card, but it's just like in a field of ones, this was like 1+.
Okay. Yeah, it was just it was just adrenaline from start to finish, and I'm with you on that completely. I think that was tonight's match of the night for sure. It was a 4-match card this evening, and that for a 2-hour wrestling program with commercials, it's not a ton of matches, but I think everything went over 10 minutes. If I'm, it was Julia and Roxy was 12:58. Wesley and Zach was 13:32. The Jada Parker and Lola Vice tag match against Fatal Influence was 10:55, and then the main was 12:31. So I mean, that's pretty good. And I hope that is an energy that they keep with the CW NXT. I'd like to see that, or those 8 to 12-minute TV matches. It's a sweet spot for TV. But great night of NXT television. I think that they really put their best foot forward this evening and made a really good splash. And I'll be interested to see how well they do over the coming weeks as people find them on the dial, as they used to say, and move over to the CW with them. Because, anytime you move networks, there's going to be a little bit of a hit and a dip. But I'd say that the CW is in more homes than USA, as it's an over-the-air network. So.
Well, and hopefully it, and even if they do, like I've been saying for the last year pretty much, when they move to Netflix, it's not going to matter ratings or this, that, or the other. It's all just going to be Netflix subscribers.
Yep. And like we've said this before, but ratings matter a little bit less every year. So, but folks, hey, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Now, if you enjoyed yourselves, we've got more that we do. It's not just NXT. If it was, we'd still be here. We'd do it. We love it. But we're here every single day. We are here Monday nights for Raw. We are here Tuesdays, obviously, for NXT. You're watching this. Wednesday nights, you know what that means? It's AEW Dynamite. Thursday nights for TNA Impact. And Fridays for Friday Night SmackDown. Every single Friday. And if you're up super duper late on Wednesday nights after the AEW Rewind, you can check out the DSR flagship show. But if you're like me and you got to be up early, just check it out Thursday mornings. It's always going to be there waiting for you with a cup of coffee. And on Sundays, couple programs on Sundays, CJ and I, we had been doing the Level Up adventure, but we will be transitioning that into the Weekend Wrestling Roundup with the W. So we'll be covering a little more industry news and throwing a wider net over pro wrestling. And we've got some fun stuff to talk about this weekend. Just various wrestling topics and maybe a little bit of discussion on found footage in the dark web. I know that sounds weird, and you'll hear more about that, but yeah.
Don't forget to join us on Saturday as well.
Yes,
especially
for Bad Blood.
WWE Bad Blood. Fun times.
Which should be a slightly earlier start time for the Rewind than normal, as Bad Blood is starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. So kind of a couple hours early for a PLE. So it's going to be a nice, easy Saturday, guys. But
now, is that, I wonder if they're advertising, a pre-show start time of 6 Eastern.
I thought it was show proper.
No, it is the show proper, 6 p.m. because the other TKO event takes place that night.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Okay, yeah, they don't want that clash. Okay, fuck. All right, that makes sense then. Okay, all right. And hey, real quick, that's Saturday, but also on Sunday, we've got the 3NT podcast every single Sunday. So be sure to check the guys out there. Christmas graphic in all of the IWC. But CJ, man, tell the people at home where they can find you next and where they'll see you.
Well, most Tuesday, Friday, Sundays, I'm here. Most PLEs, I'm here. Pretty sure I'll be joining the not Hell in a Cell, but the Bad Blood team, as they call the Hell in a Cell match, or recap the Hell in a Cell match, rather. But yeah, very much looking forward to getting the weekend wrestling roundup off the ground and up and running.
New graphics are coming, guys. It's coming. I think I'm getting to the point where I need to start talking to people that are better at designing those than I am, because I'm kind of hitting my skill wall on that.
Plus,
I was an English major.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I have a little bit of graphic design experience, but I don't have the software to do it, and free stuff fucking sucks.
Yes,
yeah.
that is accurate and genre specific. But folks, I'm the Pro Wrestling Hipster. Find me on Facebook if you want to see me on the socials. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't do a lot in those places. I do spooky stuff on Instagram. But yeah, fantastic night. Hey, Dirt Sheet Radio will be back live tomorrow night for AEW, and of course the flagship program after that, guys. Thank you again so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time, everybody.